Is it unmuted? Can they hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Chris, you there?
Okay, so we're going to start the meeting now. Chris Petrus, are you with us?
Get here.
Okay, Chris Palermo, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's call the meeting to order. In chambers, we have the Honorable Heidi Nightingale, the Honorable Mark Strong, the Honorable Hans Besser. Yes, and myself, so that is a quorum. I do see Chris Petrus online. Tricia Kerr is excused and Tucker is not present. So we have minutes to approve from August. Can I take a motion for those?
So move.
Nightingale, second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Heidi. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. We do have one appointment on tonight. That is Tom Bunn, our new IT director. It's kind of an informal appointment because as IT director, you are, I think, automatically on the Records Advisory Board for the county. So I will take a motion for that appointment.
Move it.
Nightingale, second.
Okay, that was moved by Hans, seconded by Heidi. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Carried. All right. I don't know if Mr. Petrus is having technical issues. He has messaged me and asked if everyone, excuse me, is still muted. He says he hasn't heard attendance yet. I'm just going to give him a quick call and see what he's doing. Please excuse me. He would be giving the update on the charter. Yeah, we already started. We got.
I can hear you, and I'm not even present.
And there's Tucker.
Oh, he says that he sees the screen moving back and forth, but he doesn't hear anybody.
I think that's.
They all have the red microphones. But we just heard Tucker. He has the red microphone too, right?
Did he unmute?
Oh, here it is.
Okay, you're on. You guys can hear me?
And yes.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me because I can't hear anything you're saying. But proceed.
Is the speakers up?
I'll text him.
Yeah, call. Yeah, call.
Chris Palermo, can you hear us?
Yes.
We're talking, but apparently you can't hear us, but we can hear you.
I can hear you.
So
Tucker, can you hear us?
are your speakers up, like volume up on you? Just a troubleshoot.
He may need to bring his device in next time. We had this issue with a different person. We had to upgrade the Zoom client on his device.
Yeah, Mark, I can hear this.
Oh, okay, all right, we got it. Chris, good job, bud. All right.
All right, Tuck, if we
We
can
got
hear
it.
you now, you went back to muted, I'm assuming, because you see the
Right.
red microphone.
Right, okay. All right, so for the people that haven't heard us yet, we called the meeting to order. We moved the minutes. They were approved. We moved the appointment for the Records Advisory Committee. That's as far as we've gotten. Myself, Heidi, Mark, and Hans are in chambers. It looks like Tucker is with us, Petrus is with us, and Tricia is excused for tonight. So we will move on. Next up is the discussion on the charter. I'll let Chris Petrus kind of take that away. If he has any updates for us or, any new information, we'll go from there. Chris, make sure you unmute yourself if you are talking.
All right, I am talking. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so no discussion other than I'm looking to have a resolution prepared, a sample resolution prepared for how we could start the process. Looking to work on that, those particulars out with Chris Palermo. Just texted with him, so I'm sure we're gonna be able to hook up here shortly. But also, I'm looking for feedback. I know there was some talk about possibly having another well, quote unquote, professional come in to make a presentation. So if that is still the, I need to get input on that from everyone. If you're looking to pay someone again, or have someone from, you know, academia or other elitist institutions to come lecture us. But if that's the case, please let me know and we can move forward on that.
Chris, can you bring us forward maybe some options on what that would look like, or quotes or something on what people charge? I know that you're working pretty closely with Syracuse University, someone from there that would be able to come in for us.
So again, this is like sort of there's confusion, and I want to dispel this confusion. So first, and I hope I'm not doing a very good job at it, dispelling the confusion, because it seems simple to me. So I must be not articulating myself properly. In order to facilitate the process, we need to first. Jody's texting me. Got it, Jody. To start the process, we need to have a referendum and get permission from the voters in order to formulate a charter. Then what that charter looks like is there's the different options. So if people are wondering what the different options are, that's sort of like cart before the horse, but I'm more than happy to talk about the different county manager, county executive, appointed manager, charter with manager, charter without the manager, charter with the executive. There's the preformed sort of things that we've discussed in the past. I'm happy to talk about any of those, but with regard to specific options, I think I've made no bones about that. I'm in favor of an elected countywide executive. But if there is other options, sky's the limit, and I'm willing to answer any questions regarding that.
Right. I mean, is it, well, I was thinking more options on what it would cost us to have someone come in here if you had like several different
Oh,
individuals.
so we had Dr. Benjamin come in. I'm sure you remember that, Ryan. And I think that was about $2,000 plus or minus. I don't think it's necessary to have someone come in. But again, I'm just one of 15. So if that's the pleasure of the board, because yeah, we're gonna have to spend some money again to have someone come in. On the other hand, the chairwoman did say to me that there's a possibility that the comptroller's office could make a presentation. Not really sure the benefit of that, but that's something that I explore as well. I personally am not in any favor of having more. I'd like to get to the nuts and bolts of the work. Less discussion, more action. But again, if that's the flavor that people are looking for, we can certainly pursue that.
Can I make a comment, Ryan?
Go for it.
I typically am right there with you, Mr. Petrus, as far as let's get down to it and get working on it. I have, I'm sure you know, I do have concerns with this whole concept, and I don't mind paying somebody to come in and give us a refresher. For those of us that were there, it's been a while, and there were some of us that weren't there at the time. But I would like it to be somebody that can answer both sides of the coin. What does this mean for the county? What are our options? What are the pros and cons? Because I feel like that was left out of the discussion when Mr. Benjamin was there. He just kind of gave us an overview of options, which is great. And I think we need that again. But what it's actually going to mean for us if we go down path A or path B or path C, I think is going to be very valuable at this point. I have great concern with our history as a legislature. You've been here a while, I've been here a while, Tim's been here forever. Even if there's a rotation of people, we still seem to struggle with giving up power. And a lot of these options mean we would give up a lot of power. And that's not always necessarily a bad thing, but we just need to be very aware of that so we don't get in situations like we've seen in the news around us. Onondaga County had a real struggle with the transition. So I think those things need to be made aware and just be a very open book so that we're not all shocked when, the rubber actually hits the road and we realize that, hey, this guy's, this person's spending money without our approval. Well, they're within their rights. We've been down this path with administrators and quite frankly, it hasn't ended well for anybody. I think a couple $1,000s for somebody that can come in and talk to us about the options and what they mean would probably be money well spent.
Mr. Chair, can I respond to that?
Go for it.
So pretty much in agreement with Tucker, with the exception of, I've sort of crossed that bridge. But with regard to I think he hit the nail right on the head. We need a division of powers and clearly delineate those powers. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to achieve here. And not to mention someone that manages the day-to-day operations of a $150 million corporation. But beyond that, I think that it is imperative that clear delineation is established and we all stay in our lanes. And that's going to be hard for some of us to do. But I agree with you, Tucker. Thank you.
I mean, so, I look at this and I wonder what the next step actually is. To Tucker's point, I was here when Dr. Benjamin came in, and it was good, but I don't know if the legislature was ready for action at that time. So we got into a place where we were kind of exploring what it might look like. And as Tucker alluded to, we didn't know whether we wanted to move forward with that form or what form we wanted to. The legislators that were there at that point might not be here now, and we're now kind of caught off guard where maybe, I don't know, a quarter of the legislators weren't there for his presentation. I mean, even if we were to read through the stuff that he gave us, we weren't there for that. So, or they weren't there for his presentation and to get their questions answered on such a large scale discussion. With that said, it almost sounds like maybe reviewing some options in terms of what it would cost us even. I want to say it was only $1,500 for Dr. Benjamin. And if we could have maybe another person like that to come before the entire legislature and have a Q&A or just a presentation on what a charter would look like. I don't know if that's favorable, but I don't know what next steps people prefer. If they do have questions, certainly it's a large decision and, it just might be good to have an expert there that can answer questions beyond what legislator Petrus can. That's my own thoughts on that, but Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, you're up.
Okay, I just I can't help but make a joke about an expert being a drip under pressure, but that's my dad joke for the day. Moving on, I guess I just gonna throw it out there because this is just my opinion and I have to work within the group. But again, my personal opinion is that we don't even know if we can move forward until there's a referendum on the ballot, and we are enabled with the power to do so by our constituents. So again, I feel like seeing what a charter that we may or may not be able to draft could potentially look like before we're empowered with the authority to by some body of competent jurisdiction to do so. I feel like putting, working the details out prior to having the permission to do so is just, good money after bad. But again, if that's the will of the legislature, then I'm willing to work within those confines. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Problem. I think the other side of the coin to that is that there are legislators that might not even know if they want to pursue a charter and therefore wouldn't want it on the ballot anyway. And so, I get what you're saying completely, that putting the cart before the horse, but I also, have some background on this that, I'm not even sure if it's a good idea with the background that I've been up here for. And, like Tucker said, it might just be a good refresher to see if that's something we even want to have the voters pursue and weigh in on. And, it doesn't need to be maybe a detailed explanation, but at least an overview of the many options that there are. And I know that a charter is one of them, with or without an executive, with or without a county, manager. There was another one, like a president with a charter. I remember, I think Hans telling me about that.
Yeah, it's the preformed. That's one of the preforms that are very easily accomplished. It's, in my opinion, one of the better ones, but people have problems with it.
Right. And so just having even that discussion, I think, could be beneficial. I don't know if we need an expert for that, but if people do have questions and then you're able to answer them, maybe we won't need to. But I don't know what type of form we would need to go into for that. Well, we'll, we can talk about it maybe at the kick it around at the full edge meeting and weigh in more. I mean, we have a handful of us here right now, and we're not exactly sure which direction we want to go in.
So, Mr. Chair, can I speak?
Yeah, go for it.
I guess what I'll do in the meantime is I'll talk to some people at the Maxwell School and see if anybody would be interested in how much potentially it might cost. I know Chris has some still some connections up there, so maybe he can do the Jedi mind trick and help us out there. So in the meantime, I'll see if we can't get sort of a ballpark figure of someone and how much that someone might cost. And hopefully be able to get that to you. You were saying the full edge, I do believe.
Yeah, I mean, if you have it by then, that would be good. Just to get input, take the temperature of what that might look like. Let's put it this way, I'm not hearing any legislators right now opposed to at least getting estimates on what that would look like for us. And going from there. All right, so Chris, thank you for that. And we'll look out for that at the full edge meeting. Next up, do we have Cheryl or Kate on? No, okay. So does anyone have any questions about the Board of Elections? Last month, we had a pretty good update from Kate. She said they were interested in buying those special printers to be able to do the ballots the day of. And I thought that was a good idea, potentially cost savings, so they don't print thousands of extra ballots prior to, but I don't hear anything else, any questions, so we will move on. Are you standing in for Amanda tonight? Or is she not? Nada. Okay, all right. I don't think anyone has any questions. I know that Amanda was excused and asked Max to sit in on her behalf, to take minutes and stuff, so he is doing that tonight. Brittany is sitting in for Chris Palermo, or is Chris on?
Well, you hire one of us, you get us all, Mr. Foley. If it's all right, I guess I see Mr. Graham sitting up there as well. If we could kind of do a round robin on the updates. I would like to hear from the other two as well. I do text and message them, but as you may be aware, I've missed the last little bit here, so an update might be good for me too. So I'll start it off if that's all right, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go for it. That's great. Thanks.
Okay. So my big update is that while I've been away, there was some developments in the opioid litigation, and at the present time, one of the vendors and distributors has been approved for settlement. But as you might already know, there's lots of defendants in this litigation. So in this instance, just one of them has agreed to a settlement, and so have all the other counties. Today, there was an emergency resolution that was passed authorizing the chair to enter into that same settlement agreement. Cayuga County was the last county to sign into that. And clearly, I certainly haven't had a lot of time to accelerate that process, but nonetheless, it's done. And if I can just give you a brief update on what that resolution is. This is J&J. That includes Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Ortho McNeil Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and Janssen Pharmaceutica Incorporated. The big point is that there's, the settlement agreement is very complicated. It involves incentives. There's requirements on how we use the money, various other matters that take a little bit to digest. And I'm happy to share those documents with anybody who's interested. It's about 60 pages. But in a nutshell, the county is to receive from this vendor alone, between $225,000 and $525,000 over the next 10 years. And that's to be used for restitution and abatement and agreeing not to manufacture, sell, or promote opioids. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. There is another one that's come in that's due October 25th. I have not gotten the details on that yet. As soon as I have them, I intend to run this resolution through Waze, hopefully this month, so we can have that ready to go for October. And I guess if there's any questions on the opioid litigation, I'm happy to answer them. And like I said, this is just one defendant out of many, many defendants. So that's my report, and I really can't wait to get back.
I think Rich and Brittany are doing a pretty great job in your absence, but it's always nice to have Mr. Palermo in chambers and see him around. So, the sooner you're back, the better off we'll be.
Thank you, Mr. Foley.
With that said, any questions about the litigation? And just for clarification, Chris, that was $225,000 per year for 10 years?
No, total over 10 years.
Okay, all right.
225 minimum and 525 maximum over 10 years.
All right.
And it's allocated, it's broken down into allocations of, very specific uses that the state is going to control. And I think there's a little bit that we can use at our discretion. Some of it's just simply restitution. And those percentages are all in the settlement agreement.
Is that like prorated based on when the county signed up, or is it what each county's going to get?
It's what each county's going to get.
Okay.
Yep.
So how many more defendants do we have to go through?
Right off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
25, maybe?
What's that?
25?
That could very well be right. It's in legal files. If you want to pull it up, you'd be able to tell.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm getting at is the number that they settled for will likely multiply as we go through all those defendants.
Oh, absolutely. And some of them may not settle. I don't know. I don't know. This is just the first one. And they, my suspicion is they're going to fall like dominoes, really. This is going to be a rapid spitfire kind of thing. And I'm thinking that rather than running a resolution for each defendant's settlement agreement, we may just delegate that authority straight to the chair and just, especially if there's a lot of them coming through. So, but we can play that by ear. So.
Okay, all right. Well, any questions for Chris about that? All right, if not, we'll do the round robin. I don't know if Rich had anything. He's in chambers. Brittany is also on. Guys, if you have anything, let us know.
Have anything to report in particular?
Rich reports he does not have anything particular. Brittany?
Neither do I, just status quo, just all of us working hard.
All right, very good. And I do want to thank you guys. I am very appreciative that you're able to, keep the county attorney's office running while Chris is temporarily out. So it doesn't go unnoticed. Okay, thank you guys. All right, any other questions for the county attorney's office before we move on? All right, great. Next up, we have Sue Dwyer. She is excused tonight. I don't know if anyone has any questions about her report or the records office or the clerk's office or the DMV. Hearing none. We're going to have a good meeting tonight. I do have an update about the veterans. We'll wait till we get there. I want to update everyone on the hiring process for the director. But first we'll go for Tom Bunn if he is on. There he is. You're here. All
Mr.
right.
Foley, I'm here. Yes. Yeah. So no real big updates to share, but I just wanted to kind of describe that I have had the opportunity to meet with several different departments. Most exclusively, I think HR, most recently, to kind of talk about how to make the department and some of the workflow more efficient. So we are kind of working through the employee onboarding process and kind of talking about how we're going to make that paperless and just more efficient and just an overall better experience. As I said, I'm meeting with other departments too, just to kind of get a good overview of their operations and just looking at different ways to make things a little bit more efficient in their day-to-day processes. Obviously, I've been meeting with my team as well, having ongoing meetings and making sure that we're all working hard and doing a great job there. What I will say is that my plan is for the next government ops meeting to kind of have a presentation on the current state of IT and kind of look at some opportunities and kind of look at where we were, where we currently sit, and where we want to go. So that is my goal for next meeting, and we'll kind of talk about that going forward.
Okay. So I think first we'll have any questions about IT in general from any of the committee members. I know I certainly do. Or just to reiterate that Tom, you're doing a presentation next month at this committee about the current state of IT and maybe a few requests in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Great.
absolutely.
Any other questions? All right, if not, Tom, I appreciate you and have a good night, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right. Next up is the Veterans Office. There were no updates specifically for the office. but I do want to at least give everyone an update about the hiring process, because there's been a lot of questions asked about that. Chris Palermo, mute yourself.
You got it.
All right. So basically, I want people to understand the process that we've had for this entire veterans director, without getting into personnel issues. And so I'm going to be very cautious as I explain this. With that said, we had Jessica Strassel, who took another job, as everyone is well aware of that. That was maybe 2 months ago. Prior to that, she was called up to the National Guard to help with COVID relief. So she was out an extended period of time due to that. In her absence, Lindsay Wilkinson was the deputy, acting as the director per her job description. Deputy takes over in the absence of the director. So after that, 2 to 3 months ago, Jessica had officially said she was done and moving on. And roughly a month to 2 months ago, this body, the legislature, appointed Lindsay as the Veterans Temporary Interim Director, as we did the search for the next director. We formed a hiring committee that was composed of myself, Mark Strong, Jim Orman, as the Veterans Advisory Board, Cayuga County Veterans Advisory Board Vice President. For his input, he's also a vet. And then we have Aileen on there as administrator. That committee has met multiple times. And we have looked at a first batch of candidates, and we did a ranking system. We were going to move on to interviews. During that time, it was an HR issue that we had to switch directors. So now we're working with a new director. That's Colleen, that had to get up to speed with the committee that was hiring for the Veterans Office. She had to review the candidates, see what we were doing, try to get up to speed. That took a little bit. We had a regrouping meeting as of last week to try to get everyone back on board to where we were. During that, we also, as this body knows, hired Mike Russell as that temporary HR help. So he's now the person on that committee helping out. He came to our first meeting and he said, hey, Colleen is doing a great job, but she's asked me to help out with things. This is one of the things that she's kind of assigned me to for that. So we had to also get him up to speed on it. Again, this was just last week. Also during this time period, we received 5 more applications. Those, because the search was still ongoing at that point. During this time, we had to transmit those applications for review to the other committee, the hiring committee members. And our next meeting is tomorrow to review all of the candidates we've received thus far, rank each candidate, decide which ones we want to interview. We'll be moving on for interviews hopefully next week, and are trying to have that process go as fast as possible. But you have five committee members that are trying to all meet on top of whatever the candidates' schedules are when they can meet. So it's not always a fast process. During that time period as well, the past month, Lindsay did have a leave of absence, And so there are two individuals that are part-time in that office. I know that Aileen and Colleen during that time period have reached out to those individuals. The kind of the point person was Angelo. And he said that he would be willing to kind of step up and just answer the phones as best he could, get claims processed as best as he could. So we found another director to lead that office. Also during this time period, our hiring committee looked into and kind of kicked around what it would look like to maybe bring in other individuals, maybe previous directors of that office, or borrow somebody from the Onondaga or surrounding counties, their veterans offices, or VAs possibly. We also kicked around even crazier ideas like a sign-on bonus to get, a different pool of candidates. I don't think that flew anywhere, but it was definitely suggested as we were trying to find any solution to figure out this problem. It has been long, it has been kind of tedious. It doesn't go unnoticed, but we are working as fast as we can. We do have input. I have been in touch with our Cayuga County Veterans Advisory Board. Dave Gould, I talked with him not too long ago. Just kind of gave him a status update. He is the president of that last time I was made aware. And then Jim is the vice president of that committee that we're working in conjunction with as well. Certainly you can ask any of the committee members, Mark, myself, Aileen, even I would say Mike Russell, you could ask as well. He would have updates on where we are. Again, I know that he and Aileen are in talks with the office to try to keep them answering phones, and they have their own part-time duties that they were doing. So, it's stressed right now to the max. I get that, and I thank them for the job that they're doing. We're trying to move as fast as we can to get someone in that office. I don't have much more beyond that. If anyone has any questions, we can get them out there now. I see one from Heidi. Go for it.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wondered if you had enough information in your role as Chair of Government Ops and have been moving through this process for a very long time, from the very first leave of absence that turned into a resignation. Do you feel like the Veterans Department is behind on the paperwork filing for our vets in terms of their reimbursement and their needs, or is the staff like prioritizing that in addition to the calls?
Right. Boy, I mean, that would be a good question for Aileen because she's more on top of day-to-day. But the last time I had heard as of a couple of weeks ago that there wasn't those issues going on, or they were very limited. So there's potential for them to be right because you're down 2 full-time staff members, and you don't have people to kind of stay on top of things. It's definitely a concern and something that we're trying to make sure that we don't get behind, or that Angelo, to the best of my knowledge, was keeping on top of the emergency items that needed to get processed. So but again, we can ask Aileen and kind of go from there just to make sure that things are right. So
Because I if we could follow up on that, I think it would be helpful to the board of the Veterans Department, just because they expressed concerns.
yes, yeah, definitely. It's a question, I mean, I wish that we would have not been in this situation. It was something where the office only has 4 staff members total, 2 full-time, 2 part-time. The full-time director is resigns and finds another job, and then the deputy kind of takes a leave of absence. So, I mean, we were just kind of stuck. If there's ever been a time to use the word caught with your pants down, this, this would probably fit it, okay? I just say that. Anyway.
However, I commend the search committee's work, meeting next week to review the candidates and the week after that to interview them, or meeting tomorrow to review. And then after that to interview them. The process looks like you've got it going.
Yeah, right. It could happen in as little as a couple of weeks that we get a director in that spot. Don't quote me on that, of course, but it's one of those things that, right, it's right at the cusp. I'll say that. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And I've got a comment. This, our veterans department aside, I think it's part of a bigger issue. When we're talking sign-on bonuses and stuff like that, if that's on the table, I'm not sure getting employees has ever been our problem. I'm curious, this came up a few years ago and I never heard any more about it. Are we doing exit interviews? Because over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had in my perspective anyway, a huge turnover rate, and not from people retiring or anything like that, just people finding other jobs and going other places. Do we know why? That could be a very valuable tool to us. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we might get what we pay for, and they find something a little greener grass on the other side in a couple of years and they go for it. And you can't blame them, but I'm really curious if we're doing exit interviews like we discussed and what the results of those are.
That is a good question to ask HR. It's something that we can definitely bring up at Ways and Means.
I'm not aware of it.
Rich just mentioned that he's not aware of any to his knowledge, and maybe that's something that we can start doing, and bring up at Ways.
If we don't know why employees are leaving, we're going to have a really hard time keeping them. Whether it's the work environment, the pay, benefits, it'd be a very good tool to use and know that information.
Right. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, something to kind of look out for. It's something I can ask at Ways, or you can ask if you're there, and we'll go from there. Any other comments, questions about the Veterans Office before we move on? All right.
Mr. Foley,
Yeah.
if I might, I'd like to add one more thing to my report. Earlier today, I was told by Lacey Betts that she has accepted a position with the planning department. So she's moving down a floor, and we're going to be a little bit more short-staffed for a while than we are right now. Funny you mentioned getting caught with your pants down, because here I am in a gown with no pants on at all. So that's going to be our circumstance for just a little bit. So bear with us, folks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Chris, I thank you for that update. I guess
I also want to publicly thank Lacey. She's been a godsend since I walked in the door there. I mean, I've worked with her in the past, so I had a good relationship with her. She's really something. I mean, I'm a little jealous, but I don't blame Steve for grabbing her and taking her down to planning. I know she's going to do fantastic. We do an awful lot of work for that office, and now that's going to become even more efficient because Lacey knows exactly how our office runs. I fully expect when things come to our office, they will come correctly. Not that they didn't before. Planning's always been one of the, folks that get it right every time. I expect that to continue, or maybe even improve just a little bit if that's possible. So, but I do want to publicly thank her. She's been an amazing part of our office, and filling her shoes is going to be difficult, and the training is going to be very time consuming. So that's where we are.
Right. All Thank you for that update. You know, I've worked with Lacey for as long as I've been up here, and you know, she was under the previous county attorney too, and you know, she'll be missed in that office for sure, but I'm glad to see that she's sticking with the county. All right, any other business before this committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved by Mr. Strong, seconded by Hans. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. You have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Take care.
Thank you, Chris.
We missed the record.
It was close.